I would probably say it goes all the way back to, I would probably say middle school. I was always kind of the person who didn't care about peer pressure. When things came, I was like, I don't care. You can think about me what you want. So I knew then that I wasn't going to be someone who was going to follow people, that I was going to be somewhat of a trendsetter. And then by doing so, by proxy, that allowed people to kind of follow what I was doing as well. So I remember it was like, I think it was my 7th grade year, and I can remember very clearly, I went to Linmore Middle School at that time, and there were a bunch of people who were looking, and this is around the time the guys started kind of really wanting to get at women and everything. And there was a big crew of guys that, they was like, man, there's these women and everything. There's like 4 women. I won't say their names. I'll, keep it whatever. But there were about 4 different women who the guys knew were a little loose, if you want to say. And so, there was just a cluster of young boys, I should say, who were just, like, man, we gonna go over there, we gonna get it in. And me and one other guy were pretty much the only gentlemen that were like, nah, that's not even my thing. So that would probably be the first time that I can really remember being a leader, stopping, kind of charting my own path and not really going and doing things that the other kids were doing. So I know that's kind of, that is leadership, not probably in the traditional way that we think about it, but that is leadership in my opinion. My life hero will be my grandfather. I speak about him very, very fluently in my book, my first book. He was everything to me. And he was the person that gave me everything, gave me my work ethic, gave me the ability to be able to say no and be a leader. He always talked about leadership. Just to kind of give you a quick rundown, he was a Tuskegee Airman. He was a professional bowler. He was in the military. He was on the church board. He just did a lot of different things. Could fix anything. People looked to him for advice. He was that guy. And he was also very cool as well. So he was the first person that just kind of tutored and walked me through life and gave me life advice. He passed in 2008, and I was broken up when it happened. So yeah, he would be the one person that I would say was a standout, in addition to my mother, but he was the one person that I could look at and say, yeah, he was the one that kind of got Blair Nash on the right path. What is my favorite hobby? My favorite hobby is pool. I love shooting pool. I used to be in a league for a while, so I'm not as great as I used to be, but fairly good at it. I'm on a scale of 1 to 10. I'd probably put myself at an 8. There's actually a young lady who is I'm a loan officer, and there's a young lady who's actually works in my building, actually works in my office, and she is 33rd in the world, actually, as far as pool players. Yeah, and as of yet, we, because of schedules and of course COVID now, we haven't had a chance to kind of go and get our game. Hey, Kara, we haven't had a chance to go and get our game in, but it's going to come. So I love pool. I don't have a pool table anymore, but when I did, I could be down there for literally 4 or 5 hours straight and just shoot pool. I love it that much. So yeah, pool is definitely my favorite hobby. That I haven't always been I guess, quote unquote square. The way, I talk kind of proper, I dress proper, et cetera, but I won't get into any details, but there was a past, and when people hear about it, they're like, I would have never guessed that you were that kind of person. So people are very shocked when they hear that, because of course, me being a leader, me being someone who gives advice, etc., I'm someone who people kind of come to and look at like, wow, he's the person you should model yourself after. And then when they find out, they're like, oh wow, you used to do, oh man. So yeah, that would be the thing, yeah. Childhood best friend, his name is David Johnson. He got married, I want to say 3 years ago. Second marriage actually, but he got married 3 years ago. He is someone we used to do everything together. We used to ride bikes. You know, the stuff that you see people on kind of on the half pikes now where they jump with their bikes like 20 feet in the air, that used to be me. And, you know, we used to do all kind of bike tricks, and we would just do a whole lot of different things. We would, you know, wrestle, break furniture, you know, whatever, and, you know, that's my guy. We're still very close too, so yeah. Favorite form of artistry? I'm gonna give two answers. The favorite form of artistry that I'm probably the best at is writing. My actual favorite form of artistry is speaking. I would say I'm a good speaker, but I'm a very good, verging on great writer. And so, with any type of artistry, it's just repetitive nature. It's just, you know, I always think about it like a person who's doing an album. You know, when you think of someone who's a perfectionist, like a Quincy Jones, a Dr. Dre, someone who's just in the lab, just kind of doing their thing, and they might write a song and they're like, no, that's not it. That's not the sound I'm looking for. And they'll write another song, no, that's not what I'm looking for. And you're so particular about what it is that you're trying to get across and the message that you want someone to get, that a lot of times you end up just like, I have literally, you know, I have, and I'll shameless plug, I have my 4th book dropping soon. And even though the book is done, I probably have about 900 pages of just content that I've just, over the years, that I've just kind of written and like, I don't know how to really quite put that quite yet. So, but I would say that would probably be the main thing, writing and speaking. Favorite, anything that don't have nuts in it. I love, you know, my fiance will tell you I love anything with dessert, any type of cookies, cake. You know, you can look at me and tell I eat a lot of desserts and stuff. Cookies, cakes, anything. So if I had to pick one, I would say anything that has some sort of red velvet to it, red velvet cupcakes, red velvet cake, anything like that makes me happy. Favorite quote. My favorite quote, and it's kind of an odd one, but I believe it was Henry Kissinger that said it. And he basically, if I'm paraphrasing it, he says, "No permanent enemies, no permanent friends." As you go through life, you may have I've actually had people who I've worked with doing what I do, you know, writing and speaking, who were bitter enemies at one point. You know, where they would talk about me, I'd say stuff about them, and now we work together, now we do events together. So I believe that, you know, a person, for whatever the reason, whether they legitimately have done you wrong, or whether it's just something maybe that you kind of a perspective or something you don't understand about them, because generally when you don't like someone, it's generally kind of a misunderstanding about maybe the circumstances as it is, opposed to them just being an awful person. And me and this particular gentleman, we actually, a few years ago, we actually sat down and just hashed it out and just talked about, you know, he's like, "I heard you said this," and I was like, "Yeah, I did say that." So once we did that, it was like, okay, everything's cool now. And so I believe no permanent enemies, no permanent friends. Life mantra. My life mantra, I would probably say, is one that was given to me by my mother, and it's kind of, you know, I guess cliche, but it's, you may get by, but you'll never get away. And what that meant was, a lot of times you may do something, and you're like, "Yeah, I got away with that mug. Nobody found out about it," until maybe 6 months. Maybe not even as long as 10 years down the road. And then you'll like, "Wow, I thought I got away with that, man. And here it is, it's coming back to bite me." So that is definitely one of the things that she said that stuck with me, was that, you'll get away with some, what you say, you'll get by with some things. You know, I might not find out right now, but eventually I'm gonna find out. So yeah. If I could tell the 15-year-old self something, I would probably say, I would say to, so if you allow me for a second, just to kind of, so I was raised a Jehovah's Witness. And so, I don't, for those of you who are listening and following this, I don't know what you may know about Jehovah's Witnesses, but it's a, very strict religion, very good religion, but very strict religion. When I was in school, one of the things that was something that I actually had a desire to do was to play football. And if you know anything about the Jehovah's Witness religion, they're very staunch about, no extracurricular activities, no football, no dances, no dating, no, all the way down the line. So there were a lot of things that I missed out on even back then. And I would say, even though at the time my parents were very staunch and very opposed to anything like that, I would say to myself, figure a way out, even if it means, kind of, maybe even creating some other, doing whatever outside of the parents or whatever. And again, I guess I don't know what that looks like at this age even, but and I don't want to say regret, but there is a certain level of wishing that I could have done that and how life would have been different if I would have, because I was, I'm football player size, and the coaches were like, he is special. He really, could go somewhere if you just allow us to, just kind of craft and mold him. So again, like I said, I don't know what that looks like as far as how you do that against your parents' wishes when they're paying your, room and board and food and everything. But that would probably be the main thing, would be to say, I would definitely chart a different course there. So, or just maybe go harder and say, Mom, please, because I did that, but it fell on deaf ears at the time. Born in Springfield, Ohio, which is, for those who don't know, it's a very small kind of nondescript town. One of those kind of towns that has like one McDonald's, several street lights, barely a mall, that kind of city. You get the picture. Born there, moved to Columbus. My mother was a registered nurse. She went to OSU. We moved to Columbus when I was 5. Was raised here, went to school, went to 3 different middle schools. That's a whole nother story in and of itself though. Went to 3 different middle schools, went to Northland High School, which is where I went for 3 years, then transferred to South High School, which is in Springfield, back to Springfield, Ohio. Went to live with my grandparents for a while. Like I said, again, a whole nother story. Graduated from there, went to Franklin University for all of about 2 trimesters. Realized that, what I was going for, not the fact that it's college, but what I was going for wasn't something that I actually wanted to do. So did that, came out, worked a few, kind of, just getting through type of jobs. And until I got to work for a mortgage broker who told me that, you actually have the skills and you could do something in this industry. You could do some damage here. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see, and started making great money. So this takes us to 2004. I think it was, 2004, when I was making, tons of money. And did that for about 7-8 years until, of course, everything kind of, imploded. I was able to kind of withstand a lot of the brunt of everything because that happened in 2008 because I had a little savings or whatever. But after I went through that, it was like, oh, okay, now it's really ugly. So then from there, went to work as a sales manager for an auto collision company here. Did that for 4 years. And then I started to get into doing what I do now, which is writing and speaking and being kind of a coach to people. And so I've been doing that for since about 2014 and love it. It's been a roller coaster, and I mean that in every facet. It's really a challenge, helping people to see kind of where they are and kind of getting them to see where they could be, but them not being able to see it, and trying to get them to see the light and just say, hey, take that first step, it's going to be okay. So that's where like I said, I'm also in the mortgage industry, back in the mortgage industry, I should say, doing what I do. And that's pretty much it. Looking to, kind of figure out what my next move is. I have some different ideas right now, but they're kind of still in the kind of an incubator stage. So that's it for right now.